By 1930, there were 18 Mexican communities in Orange County. 18 migrants, people who, primarily migrants, who came from Mexico, probably first worked on the railroads and then entered the agricultural industry. And by 1930, about 14 of these communities were dedicated to citrus. The state of California, someone took a census of braceros, had about 5,000 former braceros here. And Orange County had quite a few. But often these communities were put together by the community itself. They built built our houses.
Meaning the people.
The people did. And on the other hand, there were also what we would call company towns. So in the La Habra area, there was Campo Colorado, and on the other side they had, those were put together by the agricultural interests, the owners, for their labor supply. So we had company towns, but the majority were put together by the workers themselves, so that they formed their own communities.
And that started in the 30s?
Well, no, it started in the early 20th century, when the Mexican migration began, which was around the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th. And so we see the gradual formation, growth of the Mexican community, along with the growth of agriculture in Orange County. One of the good things about the Bracero program here in Orange County is that the men could integrate themselves with the Mexican communities as well, and so that they were not in an American environment. They could walk probably to the nearest Mexican community, so that they could feel at least a little bit at home. But I remember one person we interviewed who said, we were so lonely, the braceros were so lonely, because they were out of their villages, out of their communities. But being here in Orange County probably assisted them. So there was this interaction between the Mexican community and Bracero program, and probably men meeting women, girls, girlfriends, things of that nature, which, could prompt people to stay. Well, the question of the undocumented now is a very significant issue. At one time, the undocumented were welcomed. The door was open. We need you in agriculture.
Can you give a time range for that? I mean,
well, in the 20s, for example, in the mid-20s to the late 20s, there was virtually open door. Things were beginning to open up. And then in the 30s, there was mass deportation of Mexicans. Like, my mother came in with her mother and her brothers and sisters. They just crossed the border. They went to the immigration office, whatever it is, department, and gave their name and address, and that was all. Come on in. They came in 1918. There was no problem. So many of the people came in as undocumented and, became documented. And then there's mass deportation. But these people worked here as if they were legal.
What led to the deportation? What led to the deportation?
The Depression. to save welfare funding. It wasn't just the undocumented who were thrown out, it was their children as well. Whole families were sent out. And so sometimes you hear somebody who was just a kid who was thrown out, who's come back, who's a citizen of the United States who was deported. That was done in the 30s. So the Immigration Service of the United States can open the door and they can shut it hard.